Hello everybody, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, and welcome back to Canada. First of all, I've been very sick since arriving back home. You could probably hear it in my voice, but we're just going to struggle through that together. I want to start off and give a great big thank you to everyone that enjoyed the first segment of Destination Adventure Abroad. I've always had a challenge keeping traction on the channel in the winter season for whatever reason. The first season when we took the motorhome to Mexico and then did the build series, and now coming into this season of a whole mixture of things, I just can't seem to find that traction. So anyone that enjoyed my travels to Japan, thank you so much. This was honestly a dream come true to be able to travel abroad with the channel, and I hope to be able to do it a whole lot more in the future as well. I want to also address some questions about the earthquakes. First of all, thank you everyone for reaching out and seeing if I was safe, as well as Emmy. I'm happy to say that I was actually home safe and sound before the earthquake even happened, though I wish I could have been there to help. I don't think that would have been a possibility anyways. Emmy is in the interior of Japan, so she did feel the earthquakes, but as far as danger, she's good to go there. So thank you everyone for reaching out. That really touches me, but I'm happy to say that I'm home safe and sound. In this video, I want to share some bonus stuff at the end, things that didn't have a spot in the storyline of other videos. And I wrote down here a list of things that you should really look into if you're thinking about a trip to Japan. So let's get into it. Number one, travel insurance, and I cannot stress this enough. That's something I never thought about in my younger years, and then I started working on cruise ships and seeing people have to get medevaced off of the cruise ship at a price of like $300 and something thousand American direct to them. So travel insurance is really important to cover this stuff. I bought coverage for literally everything. Even if I knew it wasn't going to be an issue on my trip, I still wanted to have coverage for it. And I can't remember how much, I think I paid for 6 months of insurance, and it covers me in anywhere I travel because I have other trips coming up this winter as well. I paid $195. It's a couple $100 you probably don't want to spend, but I promise you, if you get into a situation where you need that insurance, you will never, ever miss that $200. In the same kind of category, vaccinations. I cannot find my certificate saying what I've been vaccinated for. So I kind of took a bit of a risk going because I've talked to other people that did get checked at immigration. For myself, I just ended up going right through without any issues. Another thing for me that was not an issue is visa. As a Canadian with a Canadian passport, I don't need any type of physical visa or e-visa to get into Japan as a tourist for a fixed period of time. I think 3 months or 90 days I can have, and then I have to be out for a day and then back in, something like that. But wherever in the world you're traveling from, definitely look into that, because it won't be an issue until you've flown all the way to Japan and are going through immigration. Then you'll get turned around and have to go all the way back home. And with a 10-hour flight, at least from Canada, it's not something you want to have to deal with. Money. A lot of people think that they're going to fly to another country with all the money they need for the whole trip. That's not really the case, at least in Japan. The banks and ATMs, at least in my experience, all had an option right on the main screen. As soon as you touch it, it says English guide, and then you can go through. It will ask you if you want to take it out in yen or in Canadian. It's going to give you yen either way. It's just a different calculation. So talk to your bank before you go, and one of those two options will cost you a little bit less. Number 5, language and culture. This one is really important. I think culture more than language. If you're going to Tokyo, you can show up speaking English and get around just fine because it's a huge tourist city. If you're watching this video on Destination Adventure, you're probably more interested in out of the city things like myself. So you're going to want to know at least enough language to get by. Say hello, say thank you, say excuse me or I'm sorry, say goodbye. Basic little things like this make a big difference. And then educate yourself on how the culture works, because it is drastically different than here. For example, it's rude in Japan to speak loud in public places, especially as a tourist. Little things like that make a big difference, and you can find all of this culture information online really easy, but that's an important thing, just to keep yourself welcomed in each situation that you're in. Educate yourself on the culture. This falls into language as well. Translation app. You can get just on the Google Translation on my iPhone, does basically everything I needed it to. You can take a photo of something completely in Japanese and it will translate it to English or vice versa. That's how I did all my receipts for my taxes from Japan. I translated them on my phone to see what was food, what was fuel, etc. And then I could convert that to English. I did try and do when I interviewed the Amazon, I tried to do that translation through the app, but it seems like conversational is not translated quite as good as if you have your whole sentence formulated ahead of time, because if you get those ums and ahs or repeat words or maybe a long break in a sentence, the app doesn't know what to do with that. But if you're in a pinch and you're trying to converse with somebody, I think it's becoming more and more popular using these apps, and it does a great job. So definitely download that before you go. And then, of course, how can you use your phone when you're there? A SIM card. This is 100 gigabytes. Emmy bought this for me before I went there, so I think she spent $30-something on this, but I put it into my phone, and then I didn't have a phone number, but I had unlimited, or not unlimited, sorry, I had 100 gigs of data, so I could go on I could use maps and things like that, and it was great for me. I had those days where I was solo in the city. I love just getting lost somewhere, just walking anywhere, wherever you think is going to be interesting. Walk until you're lost or until it's time to go home, and then put the address back in your phone, and then you can get yourself back home. That's one of my favorite things to do, actually, and it was only possible with this, and that will help you with your translation app and everything. Oh, and another important thing about this, when I got back to Canada, this SIM card had made a profile on my phone in Japanese. So when I got home, I could text and call no problem, but I could not access my data. And I had to go on the phone for about 3 hours with TELUS to figure out what was going on. And finally, one of their high-up service guys had done some traveling in Asia before, and he knew how to find deep in the settings this hidden profile. All I had to do was delete it, and then my phone was back to regular working condition. But if you get back to your home country and your phone's not working, do some Googling into these profiles. That's what my issue was. Now, you're going to want to probably get out and see some not city things, and that's going to mean either hiring somebody with a vehicle or renting a vehicle. So you will need an international driving permit. This is easy to get, it's inexpensive, and it's valid in almost every country in the world. It's valid for 1 year as well. I got mine just in Chilliwack. I don't know how you get it in other countries, but here, at least in the province of British Columbia in Canada, I just went into BCAA. You need a passport, photograph, you do a little bit of paperwork, and then you get this international driving permit. So that's great, but even more important than this is educate yourself on the driving laws of whatever country you're going to. For example, here in Canada, if I'm sitting at a red light and I want to turn right, since we drive on the right-hand side of the road, I can turn right on a red light. I thought the same would go in Japan if you're wanting to turn left on a red light, since they drive on the left-hand side of the road. Incorrect. You cannot turn on a red light in Japan any direction. So little things like that make a big difference. Just know before you go, because the last thing you want to do is end up in a situation. On the low end, could be a fine or a ticket. On the high end, it could be a vehicle crash, which you definitely don't want to deal with. Flights and flight prices. I flew out of Vancouver. I paid $1,400 for that flight, and I had 2 layovers. It seemed like if I wanted to fly direct, I was going to have to pay $7,000. My whole travel day was 19 hours. My longest flight, I think, was 11 hours. And then I had 2 short layovers. But keep in mind, when you first land in Japan, you're going to have to go through immigration. So myself, I landed in Tokyo and then had another connecting flight to Nagoya. I did have to go retrieve my luggage in Tokyo, go through immigration, recheck my luggage, and then to Nagoya. There was a bit of a issue there because I forgot to get my luggage, but got it all sorted. So anyways, don't forget, you have to go through immigration when you first land in Japan. Food and food prices. You guys saw I did a lot of food experimenting. I highly recommend that you do as well, but you absolutely don't have to. You can get burgers and steaks and all the cooked food you want in Japan. So don't let cuisine be a determining factor of your trip. And it's super cheap. I think the most expensive meal we had was the night that we went out for Wagyu. We went to yakiniku, Japanese barbecue, got a whole bunch of different things with drinks and everything. It came to just under $100 Canadian. But your typical regular restaurant, you're probably going to eat for less than $10 for 2 people, maybe a little bit more than $10, but food is super affordable there. You do not tip in Japan. If you try and tip somebody, it's going to be offensive, but the servers also don't serve you the same as they do here in Canada and the United States. If you want service, you actually have to call them over, and then they'll come and take your order or whatever you need. But when you leave, you do not tip them. When we went to the Amma hut, I had to arrange that all ahead of time so that I could get permission to film and interview the woman that was feeding us, the Amma. And I really appreciated their time because they actually stayed after hours to do that for me. So I got Emmy to explain to them my appreciation, and I left a $50 tip for her. At first she said, no. And then I said, please accept this because I really appreciate it. And then she did accept it. I was told if she had said no 2 times, then I should just drop it. But out of politeness, she said no the first time. And then I insisted and got Emmy to explain why I was tipping. And it was all good. And I really did appreciate her time. So for me, it was important to show that in some kind of way. And my Japanese speaking is not good enough to thank her properly. So a tip felt like the right way. And I think we all left there with a smile. So that was nice. Hotel and hotel prices. We did the traditional Japanese style hotel, and that's going to be a lot more expensive. That can range anywhere from $200 up to more than $1,000, but that you're paying for the experience, not just the hotel room. You get the, I think, 8-course dinner as well as breakfast and the hot spring as well, so you're paying for the whole experience. Regular hotels, we were paying in the cities somewhere between $50 and $65 a night. Perfectly nice hotels, very small, but that's typical for Japan, but great location as well. So if you're driving or busing or taking a taxi, once you're in your hotel, it's going to be in a location where you can access basically anything you want to do within the city anyways. If I was paying $60 a night here in Canada, there's a good chance I'm probably going to catch something or maybe get stabbed. So I was happy to see that price in Japan. There's a few things that we did that didn't really find a place in the videos. On my second day there, when we were driving out to the traditional Japanese hotel, we took a beautiful scenic route, and it went by this big abandoned quarry and some sort of processing facility. Looks like it's been sitting for decades. It was gated off, so I didn't walk in there, but I flew the drone a whole bunch, so I'll show you guys that. And then on the second last day, on our way back to Nagoya, we found this beautiful little tea farming town, and it had a whole bunch of IKEA, abandoned homes, and an abandoned factory. So we did some walking around there, and it was a beautiful spot. So I want to share that with you guys as well. took a little dip off the highway to a beautiful little tea farming community. Looks like most of the houses are still lived in, but on the other side of the train tracks there's some houses over here that look very old and possibly abandoned. I don't know, but we're gonna go for a closer look. Just a beautiful place to walk around. Just the attention to detail is so nice. Oh wow, it's full. Oopsies. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's so full. Little teacups in there. Wow.
It says like some factory here, like big
Factory.
like handmade stuff.
Oh. See, that's what I thought. This looks more like a factory building than a home. But then look at that old wooden one up there. Oh, I gotta walk up here.
Ooh.
Yeah, the dog's in there. Konnichiwa. Wow, it's amazing. Like, look at this road. This is actually big enough for a car. Not a Canadian car, but a Japanese car. Kia. A little bit, yeah. A lot of these properties that in North America we would consider abandoned are still owned by people, whether or not they live there. So we're not going to poke around too much. Just going to take a quick look. I love the architecture though. Right by the bamboo forest. Oh, lemons.
Nice.
Tea fields up there. What are these other fruits? Look like little plums?
That's kind of citrus as well.
Citrus fruit?
It's very beautiful.
Oh, I need it right now. Wow. Look at this, it's just getting buried in the shrubbery.
That building, can you see?
Mm-hmm. Old wood stove there, cooktop stove. Wow. Heck of a driveway. Going up. Wow. can just imagine before all the bamboo grew over here how beautiful this was. These little paved walkways and driveways. And then the traditional Japanese homes. So there's a bunch of trees here that I thought were just cut off. This is a special kind of tree that you buy and it grows mushrooms on it. You can see this has a whole bunch growing on it right now. Crazy. You're fine. The attitude on that little guy, I tell you. Sumimasen. I love it here.
Huh?
I love it here.
You love it here?
Yeah. Just can't get enough of it. We should probably leave this guy alone. Ready? Okay. I gotta pee.
I know to be.